Okay friends, it's time to get started on our job. One of the first things you want to do is safely raise and support the vehicle so you can get underneath the center. Looking up here, you can see exactly where your catalytic converter is and where your downstream O2 sensor is. We're going to have to remove the O2 sensor from the catalytic converter. So if you go ahead and follow the wire all the way over here, we're going to try to locate the connector for this. That's located underneath this plastic shield. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Looking up along here, you're going to find a 10mm headed nut. It's plastic. We'll go ahead and remove that and make our way down the line as needed so we can pull this down and access that connector. We can carefully pull down on this a little bit, and that exposes the connector. Now to remove this, I'm going to use a small pick, and I essentially want to go ahead and pull down on this just enough so I can see it. And then I'm going to come in between the area of the two connectors and gently pry right along here. Once you have it like that, you can go ahead and pull it apart. And of course, you're going to want to inspect both sides of the connector. You want to make sure that you don't see any funny colors because that would be corrosion and you would have to deal with it. Let's go ahead and set that aside. And now we can start pulling the connector out of this bracket and out of this area right here. Now let's go ahead and use a larger pick, and we're going to get up and in between the area where the plastic bracket connects onto the body of the vehicle. We'll just gently pry in between to separate the two. Now we can bring this down to an area that we can work on it. We're going to have to slide this right out of its bracket. To do that, I'm just going to grab onto it and we'll carefully slide it up and out. There we are. We can take that bracket, we'll give it a quick inspection, and we can set this aside because we will be reusing it. Now the wire should be inside here. It might have potentially fallen out, but all you do is just grab onto the little tab and you can pull it right out of there. We can let this hang down, and now we can move up to the downstream O2 sensor where it connects onto the catalytic converter. Let's use an O2 sensor socket to go ahead and remove this. You can see it has a nice slot over it for where the wire has to be able to go through. Let's go ahead and turn this counterclockwise to remove it. Okay friends, now it's time to install our downstream O2 sensor. Let's start by putting it directly into the catalytic converter by hand, and then we'll make sure that we tighten it with our ratchet. Alright, so right there it feels as though it's stopped. I just want to take it a little bit further so I can make sure that I crush that gasket down. Now let's go ahead and grab onto that plastic bracket. Looking along the top of it, you can see the tiny hole that needs to slide over the mounting stud that's on the body. Also, when you put this in, it needs to be in this position like this. The area that we're going to slide our connector into is right along here. Let's take that connector, and we want to make sure that we have the tab where the lock is facing towards us. I'm going to go ahead and take this and slide it right down into position. Lock it right in there. Make sure it's nice and secure. You don't want this wobbling around on you while you're driving down the road. Now we can go ahead and start putting this up and underneath the shield. We'll reconnect our electrical connector. Listen for a click, and then give it a tug to make sure it's secure. Now let's go ahead and take this and we're going to slide it up onto that mounting stud that I showed you. Now let's slide this into its mounting point as well. Now we can take this cover and we'll press it up into position and we can start tightening our 10mm plastic nuts. Now at this point we have everything back together. Let's just double check to make sure that the O2 sensor wire is not hanging down where it could potentially get caught on something. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and lower the vehicle back down to the ground. We're going to go ahead and start it up, let it run for a little while, make sure you don't have a check engine light, and make sure you don't have any exhaust leaks. After that, take it for a road test. Thanks for watching.